Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we are in the third bay and we have the SS behind me. So today we're kicking off a new build series for the SS. It's going to be a number of small modifications to the car, accumulating to a final point where we're going to have to get the car retuned. So we're doing a couple changes. Today is just that very first step. You guys might be wondering what we're doing today, but I want to give you a quick shot of the car. And as you guys can see, we're missing something up here. Yeah, the whole front clip has been removed, and it's actually over there back in front of the Corvette. We had to take that front bumper off to get access to the front of the car, and to get to the front of the car, we needed to take that off. Honestly, guys, it's just held in with 10mm bolts up top. It's a Torx T20 on the bottom. You got to take the ones off the side, the bottom, over here, the bottom, the sides, and there's 5 or 6 under this front splitter, the front tray that's in the front of the car. I decided not to cover that in this video just because I want this video to focus strictly on what we're going to be working on today. And what is that going to be? That's over here. This is a Rotofab windshield washer tank that's for a 5th gen Camaro. And this does fit the SS. You do have to modify the kit a little bit, but it's basically going to go somewhere right here, somewhere like that. And we need to remove the stock windshield washer tank for a couple reasons, but we're going to get into that in a later video. So today we're going to show you how to remove the stock tank and modify this kit to work with the car and go from there. So like I said, the first step is simply remove the front bumper. You know, nothing too crazy there, just 10mm bolts and those button head screws. So those T20 Torx screws. Take those out. For our car, for this car, I'm going to actually have to remove the front mount intercooler. I'm not going to open the coolant lines up or anything. I'm just going to have to move it out of the way because there are 2 bolts holding in the stock windshield washer tank. And to get to them, you actually have to reach around and they're up and under. Alright guys, you can totally see that I have made a mess of this front end. I ended up taking the bumper bolts out. There's 3 here, 3 on the passenger side. There's also 1 bolt on each side coming this way. I have not taken that side out yet, but this side is out, so as you guys can see, the bumper can fully move. I also had to take this headlight support beam out. It's right here, and it, as you can see, it has a secure tab up top. It has a screw down here and has another tab over here. I had to take that out. And on the passenger side, guys, I think I may have taken mine out when I put the intercooler in. Like, as you guys can see, that ring is missing. Now I don't know if this trim ring was only for one side. I'm not entirely sure, but as you guys can see, I obviously removed it on the passenger side for the intercooler piping. Now I do want to speculate, you know, if this went like that, it's kind of the wrong side, but I do want to speculate that I think that the bolt hole where this one went was right in the way of where the intercooler plumbing went. So that would kind of make sense, because, like, you know, if I put the intercooler plumbing right there, I would have cut such a big hole out that I would not have been able to fit that pipe through there. So that kind of makes sense why that's missing, I think. So that's kind of the update. Oh, and also, guys, as soon as you unplug the pump in the back, the entire tank will drain. Like, there's a nice layer of windshield washer cleaner on my floor right now, which isn't that big of a deal. But this is a 2-piece tank, so you can actually pull this out. There's some O-rings right here. Pull this out, and that will allow you to pull the tank out from the back behind the bumper, and that'll also allow you to remove the feed line going near the intake up here down into the tank. So now, as you guys can see, the tank is out. Oh, there's the pump down there. but the tank is out, and you guys can clearly see the transmission cooler back here. So that's pretty much it for deconstruction of the car. Alright guys, you'll see that I have taken the positive terminal cover off the battery terminal up here. And as you guys can see, I put a black nylon spacer, probably about 3/8 of an inch thick, between the black bracket and the bracket coming off the shock tower. Basically what we're doing is we're spacing this whole battery cable assembly back. We're pushing it backwards, that way we can get this tank in over here positioned properly. Alright guys, the next step that we had to do was cut off the 2 studs that were on this bracket right here. The bigger stud was actually the ground terminal for this wire harness. We will be replacing that with a longer bolt coming through the bottom and basically being the mount for that ground strap as well as the tank itself. And the second stud that we cut off, that is actually used for the stock intake. We have this custom intake for the LSA, so we're never going to use that stud again. And honestly, it was just standing there in the way. So not that big of a deal to cut that off. And guys, if you're really concerned about this, what you can do, you could always drill a hole through the bottom and put a bolt or stud coming in through the bottom. You know, unfortunately, they are welded in. If they were just bolted in, we could have just removed that. But this does have to be ground flat so that we can get the tank on here. Also, one more thing, I am going to touch this up with some paint, and that way we don't have any corrosion issues. And as you guys can see, this is where the old ground strap was. It will now be mounted on the bottom. And where you see this little dot, that's where we're going to drill a hole, put a bolt through it, and we're going to have that get tightened up with the basically nylon rubber spacer. All right guys, the next step after you cut those 2 studs out, you're going to want to take your battery cable, put it on the bottom, fit some kind of stud or bolt up through it, and this will tighten down. Down here you guys can see I have a hole. That is where you put the grommet. You drill a hole through the fender liner, and then put a grommet through it, and that's where the rest of the tank is going to hook into. So that hole is 6 inches down, so it's in line with this existing hole right here. Then it's 3.5 inches forward of it, and it should be like right on the edge of where the sheet metal like bends. You know, it changes angles. It goes straight down and then back. So like it's right on this corner. So like I said, about 6 inches down and about 3.5 inches forward of that, and you guys will be able to install the tank. We have the finished tank installed. What we did was we slid the stud mount inside the tank over the stud that we had put in. I also fished the side mount going into the fender. I put that into the grommet that's in the fender, pushed that in, and we're good to go. What we need to do now is run the tube from the bottom over to the factory pump. So this is what they give you for the Camaro. But what we need to figure out is, if you guys look over here, this is the factory pump that I have left in place. But what we have to figure out is this pump has like a 1/2 inch diameter, and this tube is only like 1/4 inch. So we're gonna have to figure out a adapter of some sort to go from this size to that pump over here. To continue the Rotofab tank installation, we need to figure out the windshield washer pump solution. What do I mean by that is, well guys, we've got this pump. Obviously you can see it's got the Holden badge on it. This is the original SS unit. I actually looked into replacing this unit with a Camaro pump. You know, the pumps are only like $15 or $20, but then I'd have to go buy a pigtail, you know, because this harness and the Camaro harness are not the same pins. So I'd have to go buy a pin harness, cut the factory wire, and just deal with that. So I reached out to a member of SS Forums. His name is 65 Powered LS, or LS Powered 65. Yeah, I think that's what it was. It was LS Powered 65. So I reached out to him and asked him how he got the, the Holden pump to connect with the basically Camaro little 1/4 inch line. And he basically said, you know, honestly, just use an adapter. So I looked at the picture that he sent me, and I went to Lowe's and bought the same setup. I'll try to include a part number or a link to one of these down in the description below. But basically what we have here is a 1/2 inch NPT thread to a 1/4 inch hose barb adapter. So basically what we're doing is using this 1/2 inch end and connect it with a hose and connect it right here. So, you know, that will look like that. And what we're gonna be using is actually left over from the heater hose relocation. You know, I don't really throw things out. And so what we have here is one of the Gates hoses. I'm not sure which exact hose this is. It doesn't have a part number on it, unfortunately. But this is one of the Gates hoses that I use to move the heater core hose off of the supercharger and over, you know, more off, like basically off the blower. So this hose happens to be the perfect size to plug into the pump. And then what we're gonna do is put this 1/2 inch end piece into here. All right, guys, you can see our ridiculous amount of adapters and stuff is done. First off, we have the hose clamp that came with the Rotofab kit. That is holding up the stock pump. We are using a hole that was already in the shroud, like I said earlier, so I just attached hardware through that. Plug the windshield washer pump in up top, and then there's a hose in the back of it. Plug that in. Then we've got our Gates hose, like we said, to our 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch adapter, and this goes to I think that's a check valve, and that feeds its way into the bottom of the Rotofab tank. So there you go, guys. Now we could zip tie this out of the way. I think I may do that, but like I said earlier, this was kind of just mock-up. We still got some other stuff to do back here, but that may eventually end up getting zip tied up to this brace back here. I think, yeah, that'll probably be a good thing to do. So there you go. That is the pump assembly, the adapters we needed, and then the hose running to the tank. So we actually could fill the tank up, test the pump out, but honestly, guys, we're inside, we're on the lift. I'm not going to run that tank with the car on the lift, because last time I did that, I sprayed the whole garage with windshield washer fluid, and I don't want to be doing that this time. So that's pretty much going to be it. And if you guys are concerned about seeing this hose assembly, with my car at least, you know, with the front mount heat exchanger, with this back installed where it goes, you will never see any of that hose adapters or contraptions that we set up. Now, some people might think this is ridiculous, you know, taking that tank out, but honestly, guys, that tank has to go. There's no room in the front of this car to be adding anything else. You know, whether it's a bigger heat exchanger for a supercharger, transmission cooler, you know, etc. You know, that tank has to go. Kind of wish they had designed something different, but you know, it is what it is. And that Rotofab tank was really cheap. It was like 115 bucks shipped. And I don't even think I ordered it from Rotofab. I think I got it on Amazon. Yeah, actually I did. So I'll have a link in the description below for that as well. Now, guys, some people may take this install and actually use the Lingenfelter / Rotofab coolant tank reservoir. The only problem with that is, you know, for a positive displacement supercharger, that actually wouldn't be a bad setup. However, guys, if you look down here, this tank is literally sitting right next to the headers. So, you know, any coolant that you have is going to be instantly heated up by, you know, a set of headers or the exhaust manifolds, whatever you happen to be running. So just a fair warning, I looked on Rotofab's website. They don't have that particular heat exchanger tank anymore, you know, that reservoir. Maybe only Lingenfelter sells it. I haven't looked that up in a while. So this same install instructions would be the same for that. Obviously, you know, the coolant hoses versus the windshield washer fluid. And there's probably an additional bulkhead fitting on that reservoir tank. That way you get fluid in and fluid out for a supercharger setup. So that's going to be it for this particular install. We've got still more projects up here to finish up. But, you know, drilling that hole for in the fender was probably the hardest thing. Moving the battery terminal back, that was easy. Making your own stud, moving the battery cables, that was fine. You know, nothing super complex. You know, probably just figuring out this, you know, this pump deal was probably the hardest part. But like I said, I want to say thanks again out to LS powered 65. I don't know the guy's actual name, but he has a dark blue 17 with an LSA, and he's on SS forums. I'm not sure if he's in any of the Facebook groups, but thanks again for the help with that. And with those instructions, we got this project done. So if you guys like the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. If you want to know when I upload new content, hit that bell notification button down below. And as always, if you want to help support the channel, click all the links down below. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.